This is the Slater Report podcast. Welcome to the Slater Report podcast, live Monday, November 7th, here on YouTube. First live show here on Busy Sports Network. Wow, and testing out some new graphics. So remember, first time going live, so if there are any technical problems or anything, just know that there will be technical problems, and my voice will not be live. The graphics will be, so all the audio is going to be pre-recorded. So and as I get better, I will actually start going live. But how this is gonna work is about every week I'll switch back and forth between the Slater Report podcast and the CFP reaction show, and I've been spending multiple weeks getting ready for this live show. And let's get started with our game of the week last week. Number 1, Tennessee. Number 3, Georgia. What a game that was. Georgia showed up. Their defense did, taking down the high-powered Josh Heupel's offense, shutting them down to only 13 points. I think they only had 2 touchdowns in that game. I think they had one late in the first half, and then I think both of them came late in both halves, late in the second half and late in the fourth quarter. Anyway, Georgia won 27-13. Boy, what a game that was! And also, this is kind of since I'm really this show's really more of a unplanned, it's me just talking whatever I want to talk about. But now that I actually like graphics, this is more of a scripted show, or this episode will be. So this episode will be a little more different than what you're used to. I'm mainly because I'm testing out live graphics and going live and everything. Anyway, let's check out some college football headlines for this week. Last week, Auburn fired their head coach, finally! Yep, he's out of Auburn in less than 2 seasons. He went 9-12. And guess what? Auburn picked up a win this week, the first win without him. So I think Auburn's going to do pretty good without him. So we'll see how that goes. Auburn, and I really think you should have waited till the season ended at first, because we're almost at the end of the season, but we want to get a head start. And plus, Alabama won this week. I don't remember who they won, but they did. I think they did win. All right. Wow, what an impressive job. And congratulations, Auburn, on finally firing a head coach. Anyway, move on to the next up. I got Stanford. Some of this is news of last week, because I want to get this out of here, because I really haven't talked about it much. Stanford's mascot suspended. Yep, the tree suspended. Yep, the student was suspended for serving as the tree mascot after holding a Stanford Hates Fun sign at their game 2 weeks ago. Yikes. Yeah, I don't think Stanford hates fun. Alright, I really don't. I don't know what that sign was about. I looked into it. Stanford looks like a fun school to go to. I mean, if you hate losing, yeah, Stanford's not the school you want to go to. Yeah, I can see that. But, I mean, they just got to win. I don't think that's why Stanford hates. But, anyway, I would die to wear that. I'm not a Stanford fan at all, but I would die to wear that tree. I love that tree. That's one of my favorite mascots in college football, is the dancing tree. All right. Some other big news this week. Yesterday, the AP rankings came out. Georgia, no surprise there, number 1. But you want to know how many votes they got? Yeah, almost every one of the AP voters picked Georgia as their number 1. Just one person picked Ohio State. So yeah, Georgia almost unanimously got number 1 and college football this week, and very likely they're going to be number 1 in the CFP tomorrow. All right, let's check out the next game. Alabama and LSU. This is going to be a fun game to talk about. All right, this went to overtime. I really think it should have gone to, I don't think it should have gone to double overtime. Brian Kelly made the right decision. All right, yeah, it goes to overtime. And I was watching this game live, and I was like, okay, Alabama gets ball first. Okay, it goes in LSU's favor. They go down there, have a decent drive together, touchdown. All right, all LSU needs to do is score a touchdown. I mean, they've been pretty decent on offense this game. And I was like, okay, I think they'll find a way to do it. Sure enough, first play, QB run. He takes the house himself. Touchdown. And right away, I was like, okay, you scored a touchdown on the first play against Alabama. Go for 2. You got the momentum. Just go for it. And I was like, there's no way Brian Kelly's going to go for it. But I just think they should. I think he heard me. He went for it, and it was successful. What a 2-point conversion play. And they were right. That was something Alabama never saw. I don't think the world ever saw. That was an amazing play. All right, let's check out some other scoreboard recasts that happened. Ohio State struggling Northwestern 21-7. They did get the win. If you didn't see the game, just know that, Ohio State struggled. But to give you an idea for the fans that didn't watch the game, it was super windy. I mean, the ball is up in the air. It will come back at you if you're going to get the wind. If you're going with the wind, it's gone. It's out of the stadium. Plus, add the wind on top of that, so you can't really throw the ball at all. And by the way, the only points that were scored in this game were with the win, except for Ohio State had a late game touchdown. They finally had a fourth quarter touchdown late in the game against the Wind. But most of the points were scored with the Wind. I don't even think Northwestern had any success against the Wind at all. Ohio State had a little trouble with it too early on in the first quarter. Anyway, some other big games to notice. Clemson pulled up a huge downfall. You're about to say that. No, Notre Dame won 35-14. Clemson couldn't do anything. They could not get their running game. They couldn't stop Notre Dame's run. They knew it was coming. They could not stop it. Notre Dame had the opposite problem. Couldn't run the ball at all. Couldn't throw the ball at all. Couldn't get anything offensive going. Notre Dame was having themselves a day. Next team up, Liberty having a blast against Arkansas. 21-19, although it was a close game. Liberty, did pull up the upset. They're not a Power 5 team. They're an independent school, and they pulled up this upset. Texas Tech, yikes. They had they had a lead. TCU was trailing once again. Found a way to win. 34-24, but here's the only problem I have this time with TCU trailing. It wasn't a ranked team this time. The other time the TCU were trailing early in the game, they were a ranked team. This time it wasn't. That's the only issue I have with TCU. Once again, but they play their best when they are down. Alright, California, USC. What a ball game. I wasn't expecting that to be. I wasn't even planning on talking about that game until I saw that late Saturday night. USC struggling. I think that it should have went to overtime. California went for an onside kick. USC wasn't expecting it at all. I don't know why. I was saying, onside. They kicked the onside. USC wasn't expecting that at all. Knowing Lincoln Riley, he wasn't expecting onside kicks either. He never was. They got it. Went down, scored touchdown, made it a 1-point game. One-score game, but knowing USC's Lincoln Riley's offense, they will go down, score right away. No defense whatsoever in that game at all. If USC had a defense, they would probably be the best team in college football. Texas having themselves a day against K-State on the road. Purple really beat up Kansas State. They found a way to win. They got TCU at home next week. Also, the most points ever scored in an FBS team, SNU at home against Houston. Houston really hadn't had that great of a year as expected. They put up 63 points and lost. Yikes. Yep. How many points they allowed to lose that game? Yeah, 77 points. You can see that right there. That was quite a game. I wish I was able to, I should have watched that game. There were a lot better games on, but, I guess, not better games or whatever, but more Power 5 games. So that was that. Anyway, Wake Forest. Yeah, Sam Hartman needs some work. It's the second straight week of falling apart. NC State, decent win, 30-21. All right, let's check out my playoff predictor. Here's my rankings for you. Georgia is number 1. I got number 1, no surprise there. A lot of you probably thought, oh, Ohio State won, you're going to keep them at 1. You've been hyping them all season long. But I got to respect teams where they deserve. Beat a really good Tennessee team. The only team to stop Tennessee's great offense. If they continue that, if they play like that all season long, Georgia is no doubt going to win the whole thing this year. Ohio State, except for playing in terrible weather, not a bad game. I mean, you got to fix the running game, which I'm sure their running back was injured. I am told that he'll be back next week. If not, they will have him in time before the season ends. But, I mean, CJ Stroud's usually perfect. It gets to win. Okay, weakness. No doubt about it. But, made adjustments, found a way to win. Michigan's 3, and Oregon went out. I got TCU at 5. Yep, they're not in the top 4 yet, but they're almost there. Here's the CFP, college football playoffs. Their week 1 release, or not week 1, but their first release of the year. This is last week, so this is not based off last week because the new rankings come out tomorrow, and I'll have check out the CFP Reaction Show podcast, and I'll do a reaction to that Wednesday at noon. Anyway, yeah, here it is. I'll go real quick. Tennessee won. They lost. Ohio State, I think they'll likely stay at 2. Georgia will obviously take that 1 spot. Clemson lost. So we got Michigan up there now. So, now look at it. Now we have 1, 2, 3 teams on this list that lost. Almost 4 if Ohio State almost blew it. Obviously, no doubt Michigan's moving up to that 4th spot. Who's going to take that 5th spot? Possibly TCU. But, I mean, yeah, here's my list right here. Race for the 4th spot. Michigan, Alabama, TCU, Oregon, USC. This is going to be a tight race right now. I really think Alabama, that loss, I take Alabama out of there. I think it comes down to, I think Michigan's got that 3rd spot. So it comes down between TCU, Oregon, and USC. Because I really think that it comes down between those. And I really think, I left out Tennessee could possibly still have this. So I need to update my graphic, which probably updated right now because I'm recording this before it, but Tennessee will likely replace Alabama in that graphic. Alright, so we got some Monday Night Football tonight. Ravens and the Saints getting ready to kick off at 7:15 on ESPN. I am really not expecting much from. I really think it's going to be a great competitive game. I actually got the Ravens winning this ball game. They are a 1.5 point favorite, so if they win that game, I think they likely will cover. So I got, not only will the Ravens win this game, get an outright win, but they will cover. Alright, so, main point of this episode is the number 1 recruiting class, A&M. They were home against a really back and forth roller coaster Florida team. They lost 41-24. Okay, so every week Jimbo Fisher has like some excuse, or they're always in the news for something whenever they lose, or if they barely win on a team they should have blown out. They always have some excuse. Well, what was the excuse this week? Well, last week it was I think a couple players got suspended for doing drugs or something illegal they weren't supposed to in the locker room. This week, yeah, players had the flu. Oh my goodness. I don't know if based on what A&M has gone through this year, I don't know if I believe that or not. I mean, like, yeah, getting the flu, I can see that. It's almost flu season. I can totally see that happening. Now, the question is, they have a story of the week, so based on how their season's gone and the news they've given us, I don't believe that whatsoever. I think that was just some excuse that they had because they probably knew they were going to lose that game. All right, and just to say, we don't have our best players today. I ain't really. Jimbo Fisher is in trouble, and A&M doesn't have the money to buy him out, so they're stuck with him. Anyway, here is the season. Obviously, Georgia and A&M have not played each other this year. But if they were to play each other, I mean, this is the number 1 versus number 1 team. Well, I mean, of course, they're number 3 right now, but likely number 1 team tomorrow versus number 1 recruiting class. This is their stats of the season, not against each other, but to combine all their stats. This is really their total. Georgia beats them in passing, they beat them in rushing, they beat them in receiving, tackling. Even though Georgia has one of the best defense in the SEC, A&M does a better job tackling. Georgia does struggle to turn the ball over, but just barely beating A&M. The only thing that surprised me the most is the tackling here, because Georgia's got that great of a defense, but it really hasn't been that strong. But I mean, look at A&M's schedule real quick. They are 3-6. They're not going to a bowl game this year now. They had to win. They had to win the rest of their games from Saturday to go to the bowl game. They lost to Florida. They're out now. Who did they lose to? Well, let's start with App State. That's really costing them. We actually thought we started to see the offense we meant to see from A&M and App State, but we couldn't see it come together. Mississippi State. Another terrible, I think that's a bad loss for them. App State's bad loss. Mississippi State the bad loss. Alabama had high hopes this year. That was probably the most hyped game of the year, mainly because the NIL deal. Because this is the one reason why I was doing this thing, because Alabama kind of fell apart. So it really said Georgia. I really was gonna compare Alabama, number one, number 1 team basically possibly this year, versus number 1 recruiting class, because those were going at each other in the offseason. Well, Alabama destroyed the number 1 recruiting class. No doubt about that. South Carolina beat them. They're having a terrible year. I mean, not terrible, but I mean, not the year they probably want when expecting. Lost to Ole Miss. No surprise there. That's the one good loss I got. And then Florida. Add Florida on that list now. I think they should. All right. It's now time for good versus bad loss this year. All right, so I'm going to go over some teams that still have a shot at the playoffs. It's just that, if you want to have them a shot at the playoffs, you got to take a look at their losses and see, do these 1 or 2 loss teams still have a shot at the playoffs? And if they do, we got to take a look at how they've got. First up, Alabama, 7-2. I think they're likely out of the playoffs. They have a loss to Tennessee and LSU. I think they are both bad losses, mainly because they were both games that they had won and lost. They had all Alabama had to do was stop Tennessee. One drive. They couldn't even do that. Georgia found a way to do that, so obviously Tennessee is stoppable. Alabama couldn't figure out a way. Once again, Alabama had a way. Alabama had a chance to beat LSU. Couldn't pull it off. Just one stop. They couldn't even do that. I mean, I really thought in overtime Alabama could have won that game. I mean, like, just stop the 2-point conversion. Boom. You won the game. Oregon. Yeah, their only loss is to Georgia. It was a complete blowout. First game of the year. I give that a good loss because mainly, well, first-year head coach. You learn new players. I mean, a lot of these players, guys, never played each other before. It's their first game. I mean, since that game, they look like the best team in the Pac-12. Probably not just the Pac-12. They definitely look like a playoff team right now. I mean, if you forget about that Georgia loss, they look great. But again, they still got the loss. But I think it's a good loss because they learn from their mistakes in that game. USC. Yikes. Yeah, their only loss to is Utah. Their only ranked team they played this year. They should have won that game. Their defense couldn't pull it together for them. Their defense couldn't stop them. Utah's got that Graven offense. Bad loss. I really think that if it comes down to, a one-loss team this year, and you look at USC particularly a playoff spot, I'm going to see that, if USC wins out, I mean, you look at that, they had that bad loss to Utah. I mean, a game that they should have won. LSU, they're 7-2. Do they have a shot at the playoff? Well, they beat Alabama, but they have a loss to Florida State and Tennessee. Games that, once again, I think they should have won. I mean, Florida State, I think the bad loss. I'm really thinking back on Tennessee. I'm really thinking back and forth. Really, I gotta say like a good loss because it's really hard to stop Tennessee. But Georgia found a weakness. I really honestly think that Brian Kelly could have done better in that game. So once again, I give LSU a bad loss, even though I'll give credit for LSU beating Nick Saban this year. Ole Miss, yeah, their loss is to LSU. Bad loss. I really think all these, I'm really giving them all bad losses. It's really hard to judge on this. But, I mean, Ole Miss is supposed to be one of the best offensive teams in the SEC this year. Preseason hyped. And, I mean, I think Ole Miss has got that. Even with their offensive quarter going to Oklahoma this year, Lane Kiffin still got a great offensive play caller. I still think they should have beaten LSU. That's a bad loss. UCLA, the Pac-12 is very competitive right now. They are 8-1. Yep, their only loss is to Oregon. I think that's a good loss. Oregon is really good right now. And, I mean, I know you can say well, you gave USC a bad loss to Utah. Well, the thing is, UCLA has played some ranked teams. They beat ranked teams before. And Oregon, then they almost beat Oregon. I say it was close. They probably could have won that game, but Oregon really showed up that game. I mean, and Oregon really has been the best team so far in the Pac-12. I mean, there is no stopping Oregon right now. Utah, I mean, their only loss to is Florida and UCLA. I still think those are good losses. All right? Yeah. I mean, and we got Utah playing Oregon. I think next week, not this area, but the next week. So that's going to be a big, fun game to watch. Yeah, I think Utah losing to Florida was kind of like what it did for Oregon and Georgia, where it's a big momentum or like big I wouldn't say momentum booster, but like it was definitely a booster. Learn from your mistakes. They improved from that as really a smack in the face for Utah. And UCLA, that was their second loss. Obviously, gonna happen. UCLA is a good team. Pac-12 is really good, and again, they're improving from that too. All right, well, good versus loss. Let's check out. Yep. Go back to NFL. We're counting down the Monday Night Football. Ravens and the Saints. Like I said earlier, I got the Ravens winning this game. 1.5 point favorite. I think they will cover and get an outright win in this game. Woo! Yeah, and they are the favorite, and I'm going with the favorite in this game. All right, yep, our game of the week, Alabama and an Ole Miss. Can't wait for that. Thanks for watching the Slater Report podcast. I hope this works really well, and hopefully I had no problem. Probably, likely did. Up next is Hot Seat. Can't wait to get that started, and I'll see you all next time here in the Slater Report podcast. This is the Slater Report podcast.